She laughed before I could even finish the sentence. That's what keeps replaying. Not the way she looked at me. Not the silence that followed. Just the laugh. Sharp. Instant. Cruel in its confidence. I was kneeling on one knee, the ring still between my fingers, the velvet box forgotten on the gravel. I hadn't even asked the full question yet. Will you Mar? That's as far as I got before she tilted her head back and laughed like I just told her I planned to marry the moon. Then she said 5 words. You're not serious, Ellery. It was loud. Loud enough that the people near the fountain turned. I saw a woman mouth, oh my God. I heard someone else let out a low, awkward chuckle, unsure if it was a joke or a scene. But it wasn't a joke. I hadn't bought that ring with a smirk. I hadn't spent 3 weeks planning that night because I wanted to be laughed at in front of strangers. I hadn't picked this exact courtyard, the place where her favorite string lights hung between rusted iron posts, just to be humiliated. And yet, there I was. Still kneeling. Still holding the ring. Still pretending it might all turn around if I just stood up and said the right thing. But nothing came out. She didn't apologize. Didn't ask if I was okay. She simply adjusted the strap of her purse, looked at me like I was a glitch in the system, and walked toward the man leaning against the corner of the bookstore. Yes, there was a man. No, I didn't know who he was. But he knew who I was. The way he smirked at me, the way she kissed him when she reached him, it told me everything. I stood up. Slowly. My knee cracked. The ring fell. I didn't pick it up. Instead, I turned around and walked the other way, past the whispers, past the couples trying not to stare, past the kid who pointed at me and asked, "Why is that man crying?" And I was. Not sobbing. Just leaking. Quietly. Like someone had poked a hole in my soul and left it dripping. I walked until my legs forgot how to stop. I walked until I couldn't remember the way home. And when I finally sat down on a cold bench near the old pier, I opened my phone, and that's when I found it. The text message. The name I didn't recognize. The photo I can't unsee. That was the real beginning. What came next made her laughter feel like mercy. I didn't open the message right away. I stared at the screen for maybe 5 minutes, the chill of the wooden bench sinking into my back. The sender's name was just G, no last name, no emoji, nothing cute or familiar. Just a single letter. But my gut already knew. The preview read. He actually proposed? Face with ears of joy tell me everything. My thumb hovered hesitant. Then I tapped. Inside were 6 messages. The first one was sent 20 minutes before I proposed. So what are you gonna say when he pulls the ring out? Then the next. Please tell me you're not gonna say yes, lol. Then the third. Let him humiliate himself, maybe he'll finally get it. The fourth was a photo of me. Taken from behind. Kneeling. She must have sent it seconds after I dropped to one knee. He was watching. Somehow he was watching. Then came the message that shattered the rest of me. I can't believe he still thinks you're not seeing anyone. And finally. Come over after. I'll have wine and your reward waiting winking face. I felt it in my throat first, that tight, dry ache that chokes your voice before you even try to speak. I didn't cry this time. I couldn't. It was worse than crying. It was the stillness. The silence. The hollowing. I don't remember walking home. I just remember the hallway light flickering in my apartment and her toothbrush still in the holder. Her sweater draped across the back of my chair. Her mug, the one I bought her in Vermont, half filled with old tea on the counter. I should have smashed it all. I should have burned her things in a glorious fury and screamed my lungs out. But I didn't. I just sat there. And then I started reading. She hadn't deleted anything. Not a single message. Not even the photos. There were months of conversations between her and G. They were comfortable. Intimate. Some messages were flirty. Others were cruel about me. Little things. The way I cut my toast. The fact that I still called my mom on Sundays. The way I talked too much when I got nervous. My needy, clingy energy. My boring job. I worked in finance. Not glamorous, but it paid the bills. And more importantly, I supported her. I helped cover her student loans when she was short. I drove her to client meetings when she was sick. I stayed up late editing her event proposals. I told everyone I was proud of her. She told G I was a walking cardboard box who thinks romance is making tacos and watching reruns. It wasn't just betrayal. It was mockery. But the worst part? The parts where she sounded happy with him. Not just lustful or cruel. Happy. The kind of happy I thought we were building. The kind I worked for. Saved for. Bled myself dry trying to provide. By 3 a.m. I had screen captured 80 texts and emailed them to myself. I don't know why. I wasn't planning revenge. I didn't have a big plan. I just needed proof that I wasn't crazy. that everything I felt wasn't imagined. Then my phone buzzed again. Macy, where are you? I want to talk. Please. No emoji. No laughter. Just 2 sentences. I almost laughed myself. Now she wanted to talk? I didn't respond. Not because I was strong, but because I had nothing left to say. And maybe deep down I wanted her to sit in that same silence she left me in. I didn't sleep that night, but I did something the next morning I never thought I would. I called the one person I hadn't spoken to in years. The only one who ever told me she's not what you think she is. My sister. And what she told me over the phone made my stomach twist and my world flip upside down again. Because apparently Macy had a habit. A very specific one. And I was never the first. When I called my sister the next morning, I didn't know what I was even hoping to hear. Maybe just a voice that didn't sound like hers. Someone who didn't laugh at me. Someone who didn't pretend I didn't matter. When she picked up, I expected the usual guarded tone. We hadn't been close in years. Too many disagreements, too many silences. But she answered fast. Ellery, she said. Are you okay? That question hit harder than I thought. Not what happened or why are you calling me now, just are you okay? I didn't even answer. I think I just let out this weird exhale like all the noise I'd been holding and finally slipped out. Then she said, is this about Macy? My breath caught. Why would you say that? There was a long pause on the line. I wasn't going to tell you, she said carefully, because I knew you wouldn't believe me. You never wanted to hear anything bad about her. You made it impossible to talk about. I wanted to protest, but she wasn't wrong. I defended Macy every time. When my sister said she thought something was off, I'd called her jealous. When she told me Macy flirted with other men too comfortably at parties, I told her she was paranoid. When she said, Ellery, some people smile with their mouths, not their hearts, I told her she was just bitter from her own divorce. I was wrong. About everything. She did this to Joel, my sister continued. The guy she was with before you. Same setup. Long-term relationship, promise of commitment, him doing everything while she auditioned for better roles. My heart thudded. You knew him? I asked. Not really, she replied. But I knew his sister. She worked with me. Said he proposed. Big plan. Ring, speech, family watching. Macy laughed. In front of everyone. Humiliated him. My stomach twisted. She laughed. Same laugh, my sister said. She told people he looked like a deer proposing to a lion. That's what she said afterward. Think about that. That's who she is when no one's watching. I wanted to throw my phone. Smash something. Instead, I asked the only thing that mattered. Why didn't anyone stop me? Another silence. You were in love, she said finally. And honestly, I think she saw that as a weakness. The conversation ended with her telling me something I hadn't known. Macy had been messaging her ex for months. Joel? The same guy she crushed before me. And no, it wasn't about closure. My sister had seen the messages once, screenshots that Joel's sister had shared with her in disbelief. Want to guess what she told him? She asked. I didn't respond. She said, Ellery's a stepping stone. You were the mountain. That sentence broke me. Not because it was cruel, but because it confirmed something I hadn't wanted to admit. I was never her destination. I was just where she stopped to gather her strength before moving on. The rest of that day was a blur. I didn't eat. I didn't speak to anyone. I shut my curtains and ignored every call from Macy. She sent dozens of messages. First confused, then apologetic, then defensive, then angry. I read every one and responded to none. But later that night, around 1:17 a.m., she sent a single photo. No caption. Just an image. Her. Sitting on my bed. In my shirt. Smiling. I didn't understand it at first. Then I noticed something in the corner of the frame. A suitcase. 2, actually. Mine. Already packed. She was in my apartment. That was the moment I realized this wasn't over. Not for her. Not yet. She hadn't come to apologize. She'd come to control the ending. And I had no idea what she was about to do next. I didn't sleep. I just sat there in the dark, the glow of my phone screen burning into my face as I stared at that photo, her, smiling on my bed, wearing my shirt like she belonged there, like she hadn't just ripped my world apart. I must have looked at that image 100 times, trying to decode what she meant by sending it. Was it a threat? A message? A trap? I got up, grabbed my keys, and headed for the apartment. I know, stupid. Every survival instinct in my body told me not to go. But curiosity overpowered caution. I had to see her face. I had to look her in the eyes and understand how someone could go from sharing a home with me to mocking my proposal in front of strangers and then casually using my toothbrush hours later. When I got to the building, her car was parked outside. Headlights still warm. The front door of the building was cracked open. She must have left it that way for me. It was like she wanted me to follow her trail. I walked into the apartment slowly. No yelling, no slammed doors, just silence. A weird, stretched kind of silence that makes the air feel heavier. She was in the kitchen, drinking from my coffee mug like it was morning, like nothing had happened, like I hadn't read those messages, like I hadn't watched her kiss a man right after rejecting my proposal like it was a party trick gone wrong. "Ellery," she said softly, like I was late for dinner. "I was hoping you'd come." I didn't say anything. I just leaned against the doorframe and stared at her like she was a stranger in someone else's life. But this was my apartment, my space, my world, and she was acting like the only thing I'd done wrong was disappear for a few hours. She walked toward me slowly, bare feet on the wooden floor, her expression almost gentle. "I know I hurt you," she whispered. "I didn't mean for it to happen like that." "You laughed in my face," I said. She didn't flinch. I panicked. "No," I replied, barely keeping my voice steady. "You prepared. You sent pictures to him while I was proposing." That got her. Her face twitched for a second. Then she turned away and mumbled something. "What?" "I didn't expect you to actually go through with it," she said louder this time. "I thought maybe you'd, I don't know, sense that something wasn't right, that we weren't right." I let out a short laugh, dry, humorless. "You didn't give me a chance to sense anything. You turned me into a punchline." Then she spun around and said something I'll never forget. "You were supposed to break up with me, Ellery. That's how this was meant to end." That stopped me cold. "What?" She started pacing. "You were pulling away. You stopped doing the little things. I thought you were getting bored. I didn't know you were planning a proposal, for God's sake. I already started looking ahead." "Looking ahead?" I asked. "Is that what we call cheating now?" "No. I mean, yes, but not like that," she said quickly. "It wasn't serious. It was just supposed to be the thing that made me feel something again. But then you pulled out that ring and I realized I couldn't fake it." I stared at her, stunned. "So instead of just telling me, you turned me into entertainment for your little side project?" I panicked. She shouted. "You don't get it. You built this safe little world around me, and I was choking inside of it." I stepped back. She noticed. "Ellery, please don't do this. Don't walk out like I'm the villain. We were broken way before last night." I didn't answer. I just walked to the bedroom, grabbed my packed bags, and came back out. She was standing in the hallway now, arms crossed, eyes flickering between guilt and pride. "I'm leaving," I said simply. "Not because I can't fight for us, but because there's nothing left here that's worth saving." Her jaw tensed, and then she said with full venom in her voice, "You'll come back. You always do. Guys like you need girls like me. Otherwise, you're just boring." I looked at her one last time. This woman I thought I'd spend my life with. This woman who laughed at my love like it was a punchline in a comedy sketch she never invited me to. And I left. No yelling. No slamming the door. Just a man walking away with everything he had left. Which, as it turns out, wasn't much. But the real twist? It didn't end there. Because 3 days later, I got a phone call from someone I hadn't spoken to in years. Someone I thought had vanished completely. And the first thing they said was, "You should sit down. It's about Macy." It was the middle of the day. I was standing in line at the DMV, of all places, the kind of slow, soul-draining place where time has no meaning. I was mindlessly flipping through emails when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something in my gut told me to answer. And thank God I did. A familiar voice said, "Ellery? It's me, Grant." My heart dropped. Grant was my college roommate. One of the sharpest, funniest, most loyal people I'd ever met. He vanished from my life 6 years ago after we had a massive falling out over something that, in hindsight, was stupid. A loan I didn't pay back fast enough. A misunderstanding about a woman he thought I was interested in. We both said things that ended it. And now here he was calling me out of nowhere. "What? How do you even still have my number?" I asked. "I never deleted it," he said. Then he got serious. Listen, this isn't about us. It's about Macy. My stomach nodded instantly. She reached out to me 2 nights ago, he continued. Told me you were unstable. That you might show up at my place looking for her. What? She said you were spiraling. That you were emotionally volatile. That you might come looking for revenge or try to drag me into it. I was stunned. Why would she even say that? You haven't seen her in years. She didn't tell you, huh? Tell me what? There was a pause. Then he sighed. We dated. Briefly. Before you. Years ago. Didn't last long, but yeah. She reached out again last month. Told me she missed talking to someone who actually understood her. I ignored it. At first. I felt sick. And then I saw her in person, he admitted. She showed up outside my office. Said she was in town for a wedding. Look, I didn't think much of it. I didn't even respond for days. But after what happened with you, I put the pieces together. What pieces? I asked, already afraid of the answer. She's collecting people, he said. Exes, friends, whoever. Making sure she stays in their orbit. She's curating her image. Turning your breakup into her redemption story. I didn't respond. I couldn't. Then he said, Ellery, she told me you hit her. That snapped me back into focus. What? I never. I know, he cut in. That's why I'm calling. Because I don't believe her. But you need to be careful. This isn't about heartbreak anymore. It's about narrative. She's controlling it. I looked around the DMV like someone might be listening. Why would she do that? Because she doesn't lose, he said simply. And you walked away. Publicly. Cleanly. That's not how she wanted this to end. He sent me a screenshot of the message she had sent him. It read, if Ellery shows up, don't engage. He's been really unpredictable lately. I might need to get a restraining order. I'm just scared, Grant. And below that, another one. Part of me still loves him. But I can't go back to someone who makes me feel unsafe. That one nearly made me drop the phone. It was masterful. Ambiguous. Perfectly weaponized. I thanked Grant and left the DMV, completely forgetting about the paperwork I had been waiting to submit. I just walked back to my car in a fog, locked the door, and sat there replaying her words. She wasn't just rewriting the end of our story. She was rewriting me. And she had a head start. I checked social media that night. I rarely use it, but I felt like I had to know. And there it was, her latest post. A photo of a sunrise. A coffee cup. And the caption. Some people will never understand the damage they do until they're the only one left holding the pieces. But healing starts here. The comments were full of support. Old friends of ours. People I hadn't spoken to in years. You deserve better. Proud of you for walking away. Your strength is inspiring. It didn't matter that none of them knew the truth. It didn't matter that I hadn't yelled, hadn't broken anything, hadn't laid a finger on her. She was winning hearts with filters and vague quotes. And me? I was stuck with the silence and the screenshots. But I wasn't about to let her paint me as the villain in a story I lived through. So I made a decision. Not out of revenge. Not even out of pride. But because if she wanted to rewrite the past, I'd start writing the truth. And the truth led me somewhere I never thought I'd go. To someone else she'd hurt even worse than me. And this next person? He wasn't interested in talking. He wanted to show me something. Something that would blow the lid off everything I thought I knew about Macy. He didn't answer the first time I called. Or the second. It wasn't until the third try when I left a voicemail saying, I'm not trying to dig up the past, I just need the truth, that he responded. His name was Vincent. And until a week ago, I'd never heard of him. Grant had mentioned him in passing, some guy Macy had briefly dated after Joel, before me. A ghost, he called him. Said he vanished after things ended. No social media, no mutual friends, no trace. Just dropped off the map. Now I knew why. Vincent agreed to meet on one condition, no phones. No cameras. You'll understand when you get here, he said. He lived about an hour outside the city in this crumbling craftsman house on a quiet street where even the birds seemed cautious. When he opened the door, I barely recognized him as someone who could have ever been with Macy. He looked worn. Not just tired. Hollow. But he welcomed me in, offered me coffee, and sat down across from me like he'd been waiting years to speak. I've been keeping my mouth shut for a long time, he began. But when I heard she started rewriting her past again, I figured it was time. He opened a drawer next to the couch and pulled out a worn black folder. Inside were printed emails, photos, and handwritten notes, meticulously organized, time-stamped, dated. I flipped through slowly, disbelief mounting with each page. She has a cycle, Vincent said. She enters your life when you're stable, when you're grounded, settled, decent. Then she becomes whatever she needs to be to earn your trust. At first, it's harmless. Little eyes. White ones. But then she starts feeding you this version of herself that's just slightly out of reach. You want to fix her, protect her, make her feel safe. And that's when she's already in control. I found a printed screenshot of a message from Macy to someone named Ty. Vincent's too soft. I need someone who can match me. Another message read. He just keeps asking questions. I'm sick of explaining myself. Maybe if I pretend to cry again, he'll drop it. She said that about a man who had paid off her medical bills when she got pneumonia. Vincent told me he never even told his family she stayed at his place for 2 weeks. He just handled it quietly like love was supposed to be. I looked up at him, stunned. Why did you keep all this? Because she told everyone I was stalking her when we broke up, he said. Told her friends I'd shown up at her work. That I hacked her accounts. None of it was true. But she was believable and I wasn't. He stood, walked over to the bookshelf and pulled out a USB drive. This is the part you're not ready for, he said. But you need to see it. We plugged it into his TV. The screen lit up. It was a recording clearly from a webcam or a mounted camera on a desk. Vincent seated on one end of the couch. Macy sitting at the other. At first, it looked like an ordinary conversation. Then she stood and started pacing. You said you wouldn't tell anyone about this, she snapped in the video. I haven't, Vincent replied calmly. But it's getting hard to lie for you, Macy. You don't owe me lies. You owe me loyalty, she said. Then, turning to face the camera, her voice softened. Do you really want to be the guy who ruins my life over a few twisted truths? I paused the video. Vincent watched me, waiting for my reaction. What was she talking about? I asked. He hesitated. There were things she made up about her past. Legal things. She told me she'd been through something traumatic, that she needed protection. But it turned out none of it was real. She was leveraging people's sympathy to avoid accountability. And when I started pulling away, she flipped. She said you were dangerous, I told him. He smiled bitterly. I've never even raised my voice at her. But it didn't matter. She had already told the story first. I left Vincent's house that afternoon with a copy of the video and everything in that folder. It felt like walking out with evidence of a crime that was never reported. Or worse, one no one ever believed had happened. By the time I got home, I had dozens of texts from Macy. Voicemails. The tone kept shifting, first warm, then frantic, then cold. She was unraveling, and she wanted to know if I was still playing the part she assigned to me. I sat on my couch with that folder in my lap and realized something terrifying. It had never been about love. Not for her. Not with me. Not with any of us. She was building something. A persona. A story. One where she always rose from the ashes and we were the ash. And now I had the proof to burn it all down. But what I didn't know, someone else had already started. And they weren't nearly as calm as I was. 2 days passed. I didn't answer any of Macy's messages. Not her fake apologies. Not her thinly veiled threats. Not the bizarre 2 a.m. voice memo where she sobbed for 90 seconds straight and ended with, I wish I could explain, but you'd never understand. She was right about one thing. I didn't understand. Not fully. Until I got the email. No subject line. Just a name I didn't recognize, Sadie Farrell. Her message was short. Just this. I'm sorry to reach out like this. I was in a relationship with Macy 4 years ago. You don't know me, but I know what she's doing to you. And I know how it ends because I was there when it ended for me. If you want answers, meet me tomorrow. I'll bring everything. Attached to the message was a photo. Blurry, dark. 2 women at a beach bar. One was clearly Macy. The other, a pale redhead in a black dress with a cracked, toothy smile, had to be Sadie. In the photo, Macy was holding a cigarette in one hand and a bottle of champagne in the other, mid-laugh, while Sadie looked like she was somewhere between admiration and fear. I met Sadie at a quiet diner just outside the city. She walked in wearing sunglasses and a heavy coat even though it was mild out. I could tell she didn't want to be recognized. When she sat down across from me, she didn't order anything. She just took out a manila envelope and pushed it across the table. She's probably watching both of us right now, she said. I raised my brow. She has fake accounts. She monitors everything. Instagram, LinkedIn, old Reddit threads. She used to search her name every night before bed. Said it helped her stay ahead of the story. I opened the envelope. Inside, screenshots, receipts, a printed letter signed by Macy in barely legible cursive, and a small thumb drive taped to a folded piece of paper that read, for your own protection. Sadie talked fast. It was like something had come loose inside her, and now that she had someone listening, she couldn't stop. We were together for just under 8 months, she said. I thought I was her first real relationship with a woman. She made it seem like she was discovering herself. That I was this beautiful accident. That we were meant to find each other. She paused and looked out the window as if reliving it all in fast forward. She told me things she never should have, Sadie said. Things that could get people fired. Or arrested. And when I pushed back, when I said, hey, maybe don't lie about being assaulted by your professor just to win sympathy from your followers, she turned. I blinked. Wait. She said she was assaulted. She said a lot of things, Sadie said. And every time someone doubted her, they became the next abuser in her story. By the time I left, she was telling her friends I'd threatened to release our private photos if she ever came out. Which never happened. I didn't even keep any. I flipped through the documents. There were emails between Macy and a man named Brennan, another ex, I assumed. Their conversation started romantic but quickly devolved into something cold and manipulative. She accused him of cheating. He begged her to stop contacting his boss. She gets bored, Sadie said. So she escalates. She doesn't just break up with people. She discredits them. Emotionally, socially, legally if she has to. I asked the question that had been clawing at me since I first saw Macy's smile twist during my proposal. Why? Why go to those lengths? Sadie didn't answer at first. Then she said very quietly, because if you control the story, you never have to admit you're the problem. She told me something else, something that made my blood go cold. She's not working alone anymore, Sadie said. There's someone new. A guy. Not just a fling. He's complicit. I think he's helping her. My heart skipped. Gee? Sadie nodded. He's the first one she ever let all the way in. Like, really in? Financially, emotionally. Strategically. He helps her maintain her image. Handles the damage. You leave, he rewrites. You accuse, he discredits. She posts sunrise photos, he's already got the captions ready. I thought about the man she walked toward after laughing in my face. The way he kissed her. The way he smiled at me. Sadie leaned closer. You're not the last, Ellery. She's already on to the next. And if you don't expose her now, she'll ruin the next guy worse than she ruined you. That night, I went home and plugged in the USB. Inside was a video. Grainy security footage. Dated 2 months ago. The audio was low but clear enough. Macy. Sitting across from a young man in a coffee shop. She was saying once he proposes, I'll make sure he does it somewhere public. The more eyes, the better. G will film it discreetly. We'll own the story before it even finishes. And then she smiled. The same smile she gave me right before she laughed. I froze the video on her face. That's when I realized this had never been personal. This was her system. But now I had the one thing she couldn't manipulate. The truth. And for the first time in weeks, I knew what I had to do. I didn't go to the police. I didn't blast the video online. I didn't call her friends or post screenshots or try to go viral with my side of the story. That would have been her game, one she was far too good at playing. If I took it public, she'd twist it, spin it, and somehow end up the victim again. No. I chose something worse. I chose silence. I made a backup of the USB. I gave copies to 2 people I trusted, Grant and Sadie. I wrote everything down. Dates. Events. Evidence. I stored it all in a shared encrypted drive with a simple title for when she comes back. Because people like Macy always come back. They circle. They re-enter. Not because they love you, but because they hate the idea that you moved on without them. And sure enough, a week later, she did. I came home from the grocery store to find her sitting on the front step of my apartment building. Legs crossed, oversized hoodie, holding a coffee cup like she was just another girl waiting for a second chance. She stood when she saw me. Ellery. I didn't respond. Just kept walking. Past her. Toward the door. I was wrong, she said. I thought I was protecting myself, but really I was just pushing away the only person who ever really saw me. I stopped. She stepped closer. There's no one else, not anymore. I ended things with G. It was toxic. He wasn't who I thought he was. But you always saw the best in me. I miss that. I turned slowly. Looked her right in the eyes. I don't miss you, I said. And her face, God, I wish I could explain what I saw in that moment. It wasn't heartbreak. It wasn't pain. It was confusion. Like she couldn't fathom a version of this story where she didn't get the final word. The redemption. The return. I know what you did, I added. All of it. Joel. Vincent. Sadie. Me. The pattern. The scripts. The lies. Her lips parted slightly. You don't understand, I understand more than you think, I said. And I have proof. But I'm not going to use it. Her eyes narrowed. Then what are you going to do? I'm going to live a better story, I said. One where I'm not someone's stepping stone. One where you don't get to be the author. She looked like she might cry. But even then, I couldn't tell if it was real I wish you'd believe that I never meant to hurt you, she whispered. I believe you never meant to get caught, I replied. And then I opened the door and left her outside. No threats. No scenes. No begging. Just silence. That was 6 months ago. Since then, I've rebuilt. Slowly. Quietly. Therapy helped. So did cutting ties with the people who believed her version of events without question. I stopped trying to correct the record. If someone wants to believe the lie, that's their burden now, not mine. I still think about the moment she laughed. I think that will always stay with me, not because it hurt the most, but because it revealed the truth. Not about me. About her. She didn't laugh because it was funny. She laughed because she saw a man trying to love her honestly, and she didn't know what to do with that. Some people confuse sincerity with weakness, vulnerability with control, and when they can't handle the mirror you hold up to them, they shatter it before you see too much. But I saw enough. Enough to walk away. And enough to never look back.